Life has a way of making us question whether our prayers are even being heard. We've all had those moments when we've prayed, we've believed, we've stood in faith, but nothing seemed to happen. The answer didn't come. The healing didn't show up. The breakthrough seemed delayed. And it's tempting to think, maybe God's not listening. Maybe my prayers don't matter. But I'm here to remind you, every prayer you pray is heard by the God who loves you. He doesn't miss one whisper, one tear, one sigh of your heart. Just because you don't see the answer right now doesn't mean it's not on the way. God is faithful, and His timing is perfect. You may not see it yet, but He's already working behind the scenes. So keep on praying, because the God who hears you is also the God who will answer you. When you pray, something happens in the unseen world. Your words don't just evaporate into the air. They rise like incense before God. Every request, every cry, every whisper is recorded in heaven. You may think, it's been years since I prayed about that. I haven't seen a single sign that anything has changed. But you need to know, God has not forgotten. He has not misplaced your prayer. It didn't slip through the cracks. Prayer is alive, it's active, and it's moving toward its appointed time. Sometimes we get discouraged because we expect prayer to work like a light switch. You flip it on, and instantly the room is lit. But prayer is often more like planting a seed. You place it in the soil, you cover it up, and for a while, looks like nothing is happening. But under the ground, life is forming. Roots are growing. The seed is breaking open. If you judged it by what you could see in the first few days, you'd think it wasn't working. But the truth is, there's a process taking place that your eyes can't detect. When you pray, you're planting seeds into the soil of God's timing. And God's timing is not just about delay. It's about preparation. There are prayers you prayed years ago that are still in the ground. They're not dead, they're not forgotten. They are germinating, waiting for the perfect conditions to break through the surface. Some prayers are answered quickly because the season is ready. Others are held for a time when the answer will have the maximum impact on your life. You have to remember, prayer doesn't just work on your schedule, it works on God's schedule. And His timing is flawless. He knows the exact moment to release what you've been asking for. If He gave you certain things too soon, they could overwhelm you or even harm you. But when the answer comes at the right time, it will bless you, sustain you, and strengthen your faith. I've learned that no prayer is ever wasted because every prayer you pray is connected to God's bigger picture for your life. You might be praying for something specific, but God may use that prayer to open doors in areas you didn't even consider. You might be praying for healing in your body, but that prayer could set in motion healing in your relationships, restoration in your finances, or direction for your future. We see one request. God sees the ripple effect. This is why you can't judge the value of your prayer by the speed of the answer. Prayer is like sending a message into eternity, and God sends back a response in the perfect moment. The enemy will try to tell you, why bother praying? Nothing's changing. You've been talking to God for months, even years, and your situation is still the same. But here's the truth. The moment you prayed, God began working. Daniel in the Bible prayed, and the angel told him that his prayer was heard the very first day he prayed, but the answer was delayed because of spiritual opposition. That means your prayer may already be answered in the spiritual realm, but it's making its way to you. Sometimes the waiting period is where the real miracle happens. In the waiting, your faith grows. In the waiting, your dependency on God deepens. In the waiting, your character is being prepared for the blessing you're about to receive. And when you finally see the answer, you'll know without a doubt it was worth every prayer, every tear, every moment you chose to believe when nothing around you seemed to change. You may have prayed for your child to come back to faith, and it's been years. You may have prayed for that job opportunity, and doors have stayed shut. You may have prayed for healing, and the symptoms have persisted. Don't stop. Don't assume that because you haven't seen the answer, the prayer was wasted. The God you serve is a God who keeps every promise and treasures every prayer. Your prayers are filling up what Scripture calls the bowls of heaven. And one day, those bowls will overflow, and the answer will pour out. Sometimes you're not just praying for this moment. You're praying for future generations. There are blessings in your life right now that came because someone in your family prayed decades before you were even born. A grandmother who prayed for her grandchildren. A father who prayed for his children's protection. They may not have seen the answer in their lifetime. But those prayers were not wasted. They were stored, kept, and released at the appointed time. That's how powerful prayer is. It outlives you, travels beyond time. It works in ways you'll never fully understand. And the best part is, you never know how close you are to the answer. You could be one prayer away from the breakthrough. You could be one sunrise away from seeing what you've been believing for. Don't let discouragement rob you of your miracle. Don't let delay convince you that God has forgotten. The very fact that you're still praying is proof that God is still working. One day, you'll look back and realize that God heard you the very first time. You'll see how He connected all the dots, how He worked things out in your favor, how He brought the right people, opened the right doors, and closed the wrong ones. You'll see that every prayer was a building block in the testimony He was creating in your life. And you'll understand why you had to wait, because what He had in mind was so much greater than what you prayed for. So today, be encouraged. Keep talking to God. Keep believing. Keep expecting. Not one word you prayed has been lost, overlooked. Your prayer is alive. It's active. And at the right time, will produce exactly what God promised. And there's something about silence that can be unsettling. You pray, you pour your heart out, you wait, and there's nothing. No sign. No sudden breakthrough. It can feel like heaven has gone quiet. And if you're not careful, that silence can start to speak louder than God's promises. It whispers, He's not listening, you're on your own. Maybe this situation will never change. But silence from God is not abandonment from God. His silence is often a sign that He's working in ways you can't yet see. Think about it. When you take an exam in school, the teacher doesn't walk around giving you all the answers. The teacher stays silent, not because they've left the room, but because it's a test. They're there, watching, making sure you have everything you need, but giving you space to apply what you've learned. Sometimes God's silence is like that. He's still present. He's still watching over you. He's making sure you have the strength to endure and the faith to keep moving forward. We have this natural tendency to think that if we can't see or feel something, it's not there. But some of the most important processes in life happen in the unseen. A seed under the soil makes noise while it grows. A baby in the womb doesn't announce every stage of its development. A masterpiece being painted isn't revealed until the final brushstroke is placed. Just because you don't see the work in progress doesn't mean the work isn't happening. God's silence can be a sign of deep preparation. He could be shifting hearts, rearranging circumstances, and opening doors that you don't even know exist yet. Sometimes He's protecting you from stepping into something too soon. Other times, He's ensuring that when the answer comes, it's permanent, not temporary. His goal isn't just to get you through, it's to establish you in a place of lasting blessing. The story of Lazarus in the Bible is a perfect example. Jesus heard that his dear friend was sick, But instead of rushing to heal him immediately, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. From the outside, that must have looked like neglect. It must have felt, but the delay wasn't a sign of disregard. It was a setup for a greater miracle. By waiting, Jesus didn't just heal Lazarus from sickness. He raised him from the dead, revealing his power in a way that a quick answer never could. Sometimes God's silence is preparing you for a bigger yes than you've imagined. In those silent seasons, the enemy will try to plant lies in your mind. A God doesn't care. You're forgotten. You must have done something wrong. That's when you have to hold on to what you know, not what you feel. You know He's promised never to leave you or forsake you. You know His plans are for good and not for evil. You know He's working all things together for your good. Feelings can change in an instant, but God's word remains the same. It's also important to remember that silence can be God's way of growing your trust. If He answered every prayer immediately, we'd never develop patience or perseverance. We'd treat Him like a quick-fix machine instead of a loving Father who's guiding us toward maturity. Faith isn't proven when everything is going our way. It's proven when we keep believing, even when nothing is moving. Silence forces you to anchor your hope, not in what you see, but in who you know Him to be. I think about Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness, but instead of stepping right into them, he went through years of silence, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison. From the outside, it looked like God had left him. But in reality, God was with him in every step, positioning him for the palace. When the silence ended, Joseph stepped into a blessing so great that it saved an entire nation. What looked like delay was really divine preparation. Maybe right now, you're in a season where you're not hearing much from God. The doors you've been knocking on haven't opened. The prayers you've prayed seem unanswered. I want to encourage you, don't misinterpret the silence. He's still with you. He's still for you. He's still working. When the time is right, He will speak. And when He does, His word will break the silence with power and clarity. One day, you'll look back on this quiet season and realize it was anything but empty. You'll see how God used the silence to deepen your roots, strengthen your faith, and prepare you for the blessings ahead. You'll realize that while you thought nothing was happening, just in the unseen realm. So hold steady. Keep believing. Keep showing up in prayer, even when it feels like you're talking to the wind. Every moment you spend seeking God is never wasted. The silence may be stretching you, but it's also shaping you. And when God finally speaks into that situation, you'll see that the silence was just the pause before the music swells into something beautiful. There's something powerful about a person who refuses to give up in prayer. It's easy to pray once or twice about something, and if the answer doesn't come right away, to move on and assume maybe it wasn't meant to be. But there's a different level, faith that says, I'm going to keep knocking, keep asking, keep seeking until the answer comes. That's the kind of prayer that moves mountains. When Jesus told the disciples to ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open to you. The original language implies a continual action. Keep on seeking, keep on knocking. It's not a one-time effort. It's a persistence that refuses to let go. God honors that kind of determination because it shows that you're not just looking for a quick fix. You're looking to Him as your only source. We see this persistence all throughout Scripture. There's the story of the widow in Luke 18 who kept coming to an unjust judge, pleading for justice. The judge didn't want to help her, but because she kept showing up, he finally gave her what she was asking for. Jesus told that story to show us that if persistence can move an unwilling man, how much more will it move a loving God? Your consistent prayers are not nagging to God. They're proof that you trust Him enough to keep coming back, even when you haven't seen the answer yet. Sometimes, persistence is what breaks through resistance. We don't always realize it. But when we pray, there can be spiritual opposition to the answer. Just like Daniel in the Bible, whose answer was delayed for 21 days because of a spiritual battle. There may be forces working to keep your breakthrough from arriving. Your persistence in prayer keeps the pressure on the enemy and keeps your faith engaged until the victory comes. Persistent prayer also does something in you. It strengthens your spiritual muscle. Every time you pray about that situation, you're reminding yourself of God's promises. You're building your expectation. You're choosing faith over feelings. And the more you pray, the more your focus shifts from the problem to the one who holds the solution. I've learned that when you stop praying about something before the answer comes, you're not just letting go of the request. You're letting go of the expectation. Prayer is the way you keep your heart in a posture of readiness. So when God moves, you're already in position to receive it. Think about Elijah on Mount Carmel. He prayed for rain after years of drought. He didn't just pray once and walk away. He prayed, sent his servant to check the sky. And when the servant saw nothing, Elijah didn't give up. He prayed again and again. 7 times in total, Elijah persisted until a small cloud appeared on the horizon. That cloud was the sign that the downpour was on its way. What if Elijah had stopped after the 4th or 5th prayer? He would have missed the miracle that was already forming. Maybe right now you've prayed for your family to be restored, your body to be healed, your finances to turn around. Nothing seems to have shifted. I want to encourage you, don't stop at 6. Keep praying until the cloud appears. Keep praying until the door opens. Keep praying until the answer arrives. Persistent prayer is not about convincing God. He already wants to bless you. It's about aligning your heart with His will and showing that you're willing to hold on in faith no matter how long it takes. Every prayer you pray is another reminder to heaven and to your own soul that you believe God is able. And here's the thing. Sometimes, while you're persisting in prayer for one thing, God is working out 10 other things in your life that you didn't even ask for. You're focused on one door, but He's renovating the whole house. You think you're praying for a single breakthrough, but He's preparing an entirely new chapter for you. Persistence keeps you in the process until all of it is ready. I believe some of the greatest miracles in life come on the other side of consistent prayer. The healing you've been waiting for, the promotion you've been believing for, the peace you've been longing for, it could be just one more prayer away. So keep knocking, keep seeking, keep asking. Even when your emotions say it's pointless, even when the enemy says you're wasting your time, even when the circumstances scream that nothing is changing, pray anyway. Pray like the answer is already on its way. Pray like heaven is leaning in to listen. Pray like you know the one you're talking to has never failed and never will. One day you'll stand in the middle of the answer, and it will be so clear that persistence was worth it. You'll see that every time you came before God, even when you didn't feel like it, you were moving closer to the breakthrough. And you'll thank Him that you didn't stop too soon. One of the greatest challenges in prayer is accepting that God's answers don't always look the way we imagine. We often come to Him with a specific request and an exact picture in our mind of how it should happen. We say, God, I need this job, this promotion, this opportunity in this way by this date. And when it doesn't unfold according to our blueprint, we can get discouraged, thinking our prayer wasn't. But the truth is, God answers in different ways, and His way is always better than ours. Sometimes his answer is yes, just like we prayed. It comes quickly, exactly as we hoped, and we can easily see his hand in it. Other times, his answer is not yet. That doesn't mean no. It means there's something else that needs to happen first. Maybe he's preparing you. Maybe he's preparing the other person involved. Maybe the opportunity isn't ready for you yet, or you're not ready for it. His delay is not denial, it's development. Then there are times when his answer is, I have something better. And that's where trust really comes into play. You might have your heart set on one door, but God knows that behind another door is a far greater blessing. One that will not only meet your need, but exceed it. That's why it's so important not to limit God to one outcome. If your faith is attached only to a specific method, you might miss the miracle when it comes a different way. The Israelites prayed for deliverance from slavery in Egypt. They probably imagined God raising up someone to negotiate with Pharaoh or making a way for them to slip out quietly. But God's plan was nothing like theirs. He sent plagues, parted the Red Sea, and brought them out with miracles that are still talked about thousands of years later. His answer was bigger, bolder, and far more dramatic than anything they could have imagined. Sometimes God's answer will look completely opposite to your expectation. You may pray for more patience, and instead of waking up with instant peace, God allows you to walk through situations that require you to develop it. You may pray for a better job, and the one you have suddenly ends, only to lead you into something far greater. It can feel confusing in the moment, but if you stay in faith, you'll see that he was answering all along, just in a way you didn't recognize at first. It's also worth remembering that sometimes God's a no is an answer too, and it's for your protection. You might be praying for something that looks good on the surface, but isn't good for you in the long run. God sees the full picture. He knows the hidden challenges, the unseen dangers, and the consequences that we can't see from where we are. Saying no to your prayer request is never about withholding good from you. It's about keeping you from what could harm you and leading you towards something better. We have to get to the place where we trust his character more than we trust our plan. If you believe God is good, then you can believe that every answer, whether it's yes, not yet, or I have something better, for your ultimate benefit. That's real faith. Faith that says, God, I trust you with the outcome. I trust you to choose the way, the timing, and the method. I'm not going to get frustrated if it doesn't look like I picture. I'm going to keep my heart open to the fact that you may answer in a way that surprises me. One day, you may look back on the prayers God didn't answer the way you wanted and thank him for it. You'll see that if he had given you what you were asking for, it would have kept you from something far greater. You'll realize that his redirection was actually protection. When you pray, don't just pray for your request. Pray for God's will. Because his will is always what you would choose if you knew everything he knows. And when the answer comes, even if it's wrapped in unexpected packaging, you'll be able to recognize it as his hand at work. So keep your heart soft, your mind flexible, and your faith strong. The answer might come through a person you least expect, in a place you never thought to look, or at a time you thought it was too late. Might not look like what you asked, but it will be exactly what you need. When most people think about prayer, they think about asking God to change something around them. A problem, a need, a situation. And yes, prayer absolutely has the power to move mountains and open doors. But there's something equally powerful that often goes unnoticed. While you're praying for God to change your circumstances, he's also using prayer to change you. Prayer is not just about getting answers. It's about being transformed in the process. Every time you pray, you're positioning your heart closer to God. You're aligning your thoughts with His truth. You're trading your fear for His peace, your confusion for His wisdom, your weakness for His strength. That's why you can sometimes come out of prayer, still waiting for the situation to change, but already feeling lighter, calmer. Something happened inside you before anything changed outside you. This is important to understand because we often judge the success of our prayer by whether or not we see an immediate result. We think, I prayed, but nothing happened. But the truth is, something always happens. Sometimes the greatest miracle isn't that your problem disappears. It's that you walk through it with unshakable peace. Sometimes the answer to your prayer isn't a change in your surrounding. It's a change in your perspective. Prayer builds spiritual resilience. The more you talk to God, the less control fear. The more you seek Him, the less power anxiety holds. You start to see challenges not as things that will break you, but as opportunities to see God's faithfulness in action. Over time, prayer reshapes how you think, how you react, and how you carry yourself. Think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He prayed 3 times for the cup of suffering to pass from him. God didn't remove the cross, but He gave Jesus the strength to endure it. That's what prayer can do. It may not always take away the weight you're carrying, but it will give you the shoulders to carry it. It will fill you with courage to walk through valleys you once thought would destroy you. Prayer also softens your heart. In a world that constantly tempts us to be bitter, offended, or self-centered, prayer keeps you tender toward God and toward people. When you consistently talk to the one who is love itself, you can't help but reflect that love in your relationship. You start to forgive more quickly, encourage more freely, and love more deeply. Sometimes the reason God doesn't give you what you're asking for immediately is because He's working on you first. He knows that the blessing you're praying for might require a stronger version of you to sustain it. So He uses the waiting period to refine you, to stretch your faith, to build your endurance. That way, when the answer comes, you'll be ready not just to receive it, but to steward it well. Prayer also rewires your thinking. The more you pray, the more you hear God's voice, the more your thought patterns start to change. You begin to replace "I can't" with a "God can." You replace "this is impossible" with "all things are possible with Him." Your inner dialogue shifts from doubt to faith, from fear to hope. And here's something beautiful. When your prayers change you, they often end up changing the situation too, because you're approaching it with a different spirit. You're no longer reacting out of panic, but responding with wisdom. You're no longer driven by impatience, but led by peace. That shift on the inside positions you to make decisions that align with God's best for your life. Always encourage people, even if you don't see an immediate answer. Keep praying. Because prayer is never wasted, not on the situation and not on you. Every time you talk to God, He's pouring something into you that you need for the journey ahead. You might not notice it right away, but over time you'll look back and realize you've grown stronger, wiser, and more at peace than you ever imagined. So don't just see prayer as a transaction where you bring your requests and God hands you what you asked for. See it as a relationship, where every conversation with Him is shaping you into the person He's called you to be. Because when prayer changes you, it changes everything. One of the hardest parts of prayer is not just asking, it's waiting. And not just waiting, but waiting with expectation. Anyone can wait while feeling discouraged, defeated, or doubtful. But it takes real faith to wait and still believe the answer is on its way. That's the kind of expectation that keeps your heart alive and your faith active, even when time keeps passing and nothing seems to be changing. When you pray, something happens instantly in the spiritual realm. The answer may not appear in the physical world yet, but God sets things in motion. The challenge is that His timing and our timing are often very different. We live in an instant results culture. 2-day shipping feels slow, and buffering for 5 seconds feels like forever. But God's timing is not rushed by our impatience. He's not late, He's strategic. You're declaring, I believe so strongly in what God has said that I'm going to act like it's already mine. It's also important to stay engaged while you're waiting. Expectation doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means positioning yourself for the answer. If you're praying for a new job, keep updating your skills and sending out applications. If you're praying for a relationship, keep working on becoming the person God has called you to be. If you're praying for healing, keep speaking life over your body and following wisdom in your health choices. Sometimes the waiting season is actually God's way of getting you ready for what you've been asking for. If the answer came too soon, you might not be able to handle. Expectation says, God, trust your timing. And I believe that while I'm waiting for the promise, you're preparing me for it. And here's the truth. Your answer could come suddenly. In the Bible, Joseph went from being in prison to ruling in the palace in a single day. The woman with the issue of blood went from 12 years of sickness to total healing in one moment of touching Jesus' garment. The disciples went from fishing all night with nothing to hauling in a net-breaking catch after just one word from Jesus. You never know when your today will be the day. That's why you keep expecting. That's why you wake up each morning saying, this could be the day my prayer is answered. Because one day it will be the day. And when it comes, you'll be ready not just to receive it, but to give God all the glory for it. So while you wait, don't let your hope fade. Keep your eyes on the one who promised. Keep your heart full of gratitude. Keep speaking words of faith. And keep expecting. Because the God who hears you is also the God who answers. And His answer is on the way. Friend, no matter what you're facing today, I want you to know your prayers are not in vain. They're not floating in the air, getting lost somewhere between heaven and earth.